All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get airborne at 1 o'clock on East Coast. Let's get going with our AR accelerator retirement. Looks like we are going to chop around the 50-day moving average as we predicted. Looks like volatility is going to stay higher and hovering as we predicted, especially as we head into a Fed meeting next week where you got Goldman Sachs saying, hey, we're not even going to cut rates at all this year at the Fed. And the market's saying, what are you high? We're going to get there was a house out with a note today that said we're going to get a 50 basis cut next week. I mean, just all over the place with stuff. Hey, do me a favor and check over in the materials tab. Robert sent me an updated trade plan. Where is it? Let me open mine. That he is that one? No. So everybody download that one. He added what we talked about yesterday to it, which was commit criteria. Let me find it. Coaching. So everybody give Robert a virtual hand here. Where is it? Type. All right. Well, I can't find it. Maybe I'll just have to download it. Or sorry, type. Yeah, it's not that. It's not that. It's not that. It's not that. But it should be in there. So everybody take a look at that. I have to re-download it. So Robert's doing a great job keeping track of his trades, writing everything down. When you keep track of your trades, folks, and you have to physically write your commit criteria down, folks. You can't just sit there and before you place a trade go, well, maybe I'm thinking this or that, because 2, 3, 4 weeks later, you're not going to remember it. When a trade's going against you and you start looking at stuff going, should I maybe I thought I got it. No, you're dead. It's like the movie Top Gun. When you think, you're dead. So if you're waiting or trying to, you can't back into your commit criteria. You can't put you can't put on a trade and then when it's going against you a couple weeks later back into it and go, well, here's why I think I got into it. So over here on the right, you can see, there you go. Look at that. That's great. What's your strategic mindset? Commit criteria. There's 3 to 5 sentences right there of what you're supposed to be doing or why you're getting into this trade. What are the threats to the trade? He added this as well too, because I briefed that, right? I give you my strategic mindset. I give you, sometimes I ramble, but I give you solid 3 to 5 sentences about why I'm getting into a trade, and I tell you what can reach out and touch us during the lifetime of that trade. He puts all his metrics down here and some notes. And then puts all the, if it's a call spread, a put spread, and all sorts of stuff. So this is awesome. This is great stuff. And that reminds me, hey, tomorrow, after the guys, just click on the link under the materials tab. There's let me show you what this looks like, guys. You just click on the materials tab over on your control panel. You see that? You see where it says trade data sheet? You right here, you click on it and it'll automatically download. I mean, I can email it out, but it's sitting right there. Should be pretty easy to figure out. And that reminds me, tomorrow afternoon after the close at 4:30, I'm going to give us a lifetime membership and coaching brief. It'll be a quick 30, 45 minute. I'm going to let you hear from our view. Everybody, attendees can chat, attendees can see. No, it says right there. How about now? I just turned it off and turned it back on. Can you guys see it? Try now. There you go. All right. It was deselected. I reselected, deselected, reselected. So, hey, tomorrow after the close, I'm going to update you on our lifetime membership availability. The people who were in lifetime before we launched Solo Amazon got that for free. That's $897 a month for free. Essentially, those coaching or a year, those. So here in the chat box, go ahead and register for this. Tomorrow after the close, if you want to learn about our coaching, because the folks in the coaching program are doing really good. if you're in Commanding Officers Club coaching, you get access to me. We text, we call, we email, we do a go to training once a week, looking at everything. If you're in Commodores Club, it's every 2 weeks, and you get some limited access to me. But the coaching folks are having an absolute blast. This is not the market to be flying around solo wins. So go ahead and click on that link and register, and I'll give you a brief after the close tomorrow. Only have a handful of coaching opportunities. We're getting ready to have 2 people roll off the coaching. Not going to need coaching forever. We come up with an individual trade plan for you for 1 year, and we stick to it, man. And I'll share with you what the current 3-day short squeeze last week. Horrible jobs number on Friday, and then Bizarro Market took over. What did I say about Bizarro Market? Bizarro Markets and short squeezes end. They do. As soon as we went through this 50 the other day, I said we are going to stop, and we're going to stop and shop. I was heading out to a Jack's hockey game last night and was past CNBC on the radio, and it was Jim Cramer, and I was like, "Ah, crap, next." And as soon as before I changed the channel, he was talking about volatility. I'm like, "Ah." So Jim Cramer said, "Hey, man, the volatility remaining elevated for the past couple days when the market was doing this means warning." I'm like, "Hey, all right, Jim, now you sound smart." So we briefed this, guys, last week when this is a rip your face off rally. This is bullish, Wiz. I'm like, no, it's not. 500 point up day was a short squeeze. Short squeezes end, bad jobs numbers, Bizarro Market. Bizarro Market means awful news is great news. So, and people who are like, this is a bullish signal and this and that. I'm like, going through the 50 might be bullish, but then it's going to take profits, and we are going to chop right around the 50-day moving average. There is absolutely nothing to drive this market higher. Well, how about the Fed meeting next week? Well, if you look at the Fed funds futures rate, the market is expecting a cut next week. What if we don't? Goldman Sachs this week, folks, 2 days ago said, I don't know what you're all talking about. They ain't cutting rates this year. What did everybody else say? Everybody else said what? They are cutting this year. 70% chance of a rate cut next month in July, and 60% probability of 3 cuts this year. Holy crap. I'm telling you, folks, that Goldman Sachs came out with this on Monday. Why? Because the Federal Reserve saw what happened last week. Here we are, folks. Here's the Department of Justice and the FTC going after big tech. And breaking news a little while ago, Mark Zuckerberg is still a piece of shit and an awful human being and should be fired. A lot of roaches in Facebook, folks. 2012 emails has surfaced with Mr. Zuckerberg. This broke from the Wall Street Journal about an hour ago. Privacy worries, or Facebook worries emails could show Zuckerberg knew. He did know. I told you this 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, a year and a half ago when the Cambridge Analytica scandal broke. I'm like, this guy, he's going to claim he's not in on it. And 6 months ago, he's like, we're changing our business model to care only about privacy. If you believe that, folks, you're a dumb F. Oh, Wiz, what's your language? No, I'm using the language that Mark Zuckerberg told a Harvard buddy. He's like, dude, I got like 4,000 social security numbers, emails, birthdays, all this private data from people. Dude, how'd you get that? They just gave it to me, those dumb Fs. Mark Zuckerberg called you a dumb F when he built Facebook. And you're going to tell me this guy has changed his stripes? The man's a limousine liberal piece of shit. And he did commit perjury in front of Congress. How come? I told you guys the other night I went and saw Roger Stone. Roger Stone is allegedly committed perjury. Allegedly. 20 commandos kick open his door at dawn. Broward Sheriff's Office, Broward Coward Office, boats in his yard, perp walk with CNN filming it. Jack Dorsey, the cuck CEO of Twitter, says, we don't shadow ban conservatives. I'm one of them. Yeah, you're right, you don't shadow ban. You just ban me. Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey have committed perjury. How about that scuzzy Trump's ex-lawyer committed perjury, goes to jail? How come when limousine liberal tech CEOs commit perjury, nothing happens? Cannot stand what's going on with this country. It's awful. And people are shocked at this. I told you this is going on, folks, and I said it's going to get worse. Ages ago, I told you. And you know, I mistimed a straight put by on Facebook like 6 months ago or whatever. The 1 year chart, here's a 1 year chart of Facebook. Down 8%. I'm sorry, how'd that get to FXI? It's worse than that, right? All right, so, yeah, so 1 year chart. Whoops, hang on. Yep. United States Justice, it's Animal Farm. Everybody had to read Animal Farm in high school, right? Oh, I'm sorry, it's down. It's not down 8%. It's down 10%. U.S. justice system it's called Animal Farm. All animals are equal. Some animals are more equal than others. Hillary Clinton, Barack Hussein Obama. Oof. So what I'm getting at here, folks, is we were the other day when we went through this 50-day moving average, we were about just under 2% away from record all-time highs. And I asked you how many are gnashing your teeth to get in here and get bullish as we approach record highs again. The president could not be more belligerent. He was potentially slapping tariffs on Mexico, and we're still in the middle of a trade war with China. I've been reading a ton of intel lately that the trade war it's seriously destroying China. I mean, companies were leaving China over the past couple of years anyway. China was the place to do business 10, 20 years ago. Why? It was cheap. A kabillion people working for peanuts. We're going to China. What happened? It turned into what it is, a massive communist bureaucracy where you can't get stuff done anymore, and it ain't cheap. What's cheap? Vietnam, Taiwan, South Korea, Indonesia, Malaysia. Now those are the new places. So all these supply chains that have been disrupted in the past year during this trade war, guess what? They ain't going to be rebuilt. When companies that are leaving China right now get to Vietnam or move, they're going to do what? Stay there. It's not like if the trade war clears up, they're going to move all their supply chains over. I got an email from one of our members who's works out in LA in the port. He's like, you should see the ports, folks. This is bad, and we're gonna potentially see how bad tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern Air Time, right? Tonight's Stanley Cup, man. So thank God there's no China data. I'm watching Stanley Cup. So this is bad. China is in a hurt locker here. So stocks are edging lower. Oil's falling a little bit because we got some big stockpiles. Who cares? You know, we're going. Next is Iran. This president, he's definitely a guy that can walk and chew gum at the same time. He's meeting with the head of Poland right now. They're building a Fort Trump in Poland. He was smacking Mexico around. Hey, everybody see the good news about what's coming through the border the other day? You ready for this, folks? U.S. cities are being overwhelmed with who? Illegal immigrants from Ebola-stricken countries. Did you see this, folks? Did you see this on CNN or MSNBC? They're not being screened or quarantined. 550 African migrants were just caught in Texas. The Department of Homeland Security says they aren't being screened for Ebola. These people, it's disgusting. Here comes your future Democratic voters, folks, from African countries that carry Ebola. Does everybody remember, who was it, Obama, who flew in, who allowed like two doctors who got Ebola? One was flown to Atlanta. Remember this? The CDC, and the other one was like flown to, Minnesota? Did you see what happened with one person infected? They shut down Atlanta. It was like, it was, this thing was on the highway. It had like police escorts or Secret Service. That was one person, ladies and gentlemen. Does everybody remember it on TV? We had 2 people with Ebola in this country, 2 people, and they treated it, as appropriate. What happens when we get a couple thousand people who have Ebola streaming across the border? You want to know where the next terrorist event is? It's this one. If I was the head of ISIS or Al-Qaeda, I'd be sending my dudes to Africa to get infected, and then I'd be sending them right through the border. And I hate, if you've read my book, I hate being the guy that says, I told you so, because if you have an I told you so moment, it means you failed. Like in the business world, like somebody who sits in the back of the room and whispers like, oh, this project's never going to work. And then it doesn't. And you stand up in the debrief and go, I told you it wasn't going to work. You look like a jackass. And nobody wants to hear anybody gloat over failure. But guess what? I can't do anything. I can't do anything. What am I'm trying. I support the president. I want Republicans. I want to seal the border, folks. Or actually, here's what I want to do. I want to put the wall up. No, not down along the Mexican border. I want to put walls up around sanctuary cities. Put the frickin' walls around sanctuary cities and send these people to the sanctuary cities. It's an absolute disgrace. This is a failure, absolute failure. I can't. Nonstop dumping. And what did California vote to do the other day? To give free health care to illegal immigrants, man. 60,000 homeless veterans, 22 vets kill themselves on a daily basis. California, Gavin Newsom from San Fran Feces decides to just give everybody health care. Furious at this, folks. I don't want to have a told you so moment. You want to talk about terrorism? You have Ebola breakout on our border. You people would be stuck in their houses. You will have duct tape. My God, down here in Boca Raton in the summer, people won't leave the house. I am so glad I have my well-regulated militia. I'm not going to need food or water. I'm going to go get it. Trust me. And I know the places I'm going to go get it from. Sanctuary city supporters, Democrats and liberals. So anyway, it's ridiculous. Graham, it's insane. Why do you, if the president, seems so stupid to say, but you do not have a country if you do not have borders. A border needs to be defended by women and men with guns. We do not have a country without a border. If you look at the State of the Union address from Barack Hussein Obama and Bill Clinton years ago, they sounded like a Republican. We need a wall, and illegal immigrants are dragging our system, and we need to reform entitlements, until they saw that they can't get average Americans to vote for them, so they have to import them. Here's your Democratic embryos, folks, carrying Ebola. They're going to kill us all. It's insane. I can't even believe this is an issue. Yeah. God forbid, I'm going to protect my family. Trust me, I'm living. I will be living through any of this stuff, and my family will too. The people who supported this stuff won't be living. I guarantee it. They're the first to go. The president has been on a tirade against the Federal Reserve. They don't have a clue. He talks nicer about the leader, the dear leader. Got a great letter, a beautiful letter from the dear leader. You see that yesterday? Great guy, good guy, awesome dude. Bret Baier. He murders people. He starves his own people. He's a tough cookie. President looks a little stupid sometimes when he talks about the leader of New York. So they don't have a clue. Peter, I'll bet you got a Tommy gun, man. That's a great weapon. So this is somebody posted in the writing room. I didn't answer it just now because I want to talk about it now. Someone was asking about, hey, how do we play the Fed meeting next week? You ready for this? I don't know. Goldman Sachs is not known for being that stupid unless you're Lloyd Blankfein. Then Goldman Sachs is a complete stupid company. Lloyd Blankfein, scourge on Goldman Sachs. Thank God that leech is gone. But they usually don't come out and say something like this. And Jan is not the village idiot. They don't say this unless these people picked up the phone and gave them a call. I am predicting that the Fed, and I have a call into somebody who shall remain nameless, same dude who did the whole, dude, he's beating the shit out of the Fed because he might walk away from the trade deal. We reported that 5 weeks before that happened. I am saying, just like the president beating up the Fed for the China deal, Goldman Sachs came out with that report the other day because these dudes saw the market reaction like week and went, shit. Think about it, folks. When James Bullard, the St. Louis Fed chief, said last Monday, like, we might need to cut rates soon. What did the market hear? The Fed's cutting rates in 2 weeks. Not to be outdone, the commanding officer of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, came out the next morning and said, hey, man, we will act as appropriate to keep the expansion going. What does that mean? To me, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be honest with you, it meant nothing. You know where I am. What happened with the inflation numbers this morning? We really are in bizarro market. I told you to keep an eye on CPI today. CPI and core CPI. The Fed, ladies and gentlemen, should be raising rates. The economy's doing good. They shouldn't be cutting. They should at least be sitting on their hands. I get what Trump's doing. Obviously, he wants rate cuts so he can win re-election. And he's probably right in the fact that he says if the Fed had been cutting rates, the Dow would be up another 10,000 points. I'm not going to disagree with the dude. I think he's right. Why? Because the market is full of drunks and drug addicts. They need the hopium. The only reason this market is up here today, after the number one buyer of the S&P 500 was the S&P 500, is hopium. Hopes on a trade deal. Hopes that the Fed cuts. That's a lot of hope building in this market, folks. But as I've briefed you, sometimes these are hold your nose rallies, right? So, Karen, I'm with you. Before last week, ladies and gentlemen, before this shit show, what happened? The market was going, oh, they're definitely cutting next month. And what's next month mean? July. Nobody even mentioned the June Fed meeting that they were going to cut until last Monday. The St. Louis guy goes, we're going to cut rates soon, and Jerome Powell flops on his face. I will act as appropriate to keep the expansion going. Well, we're back up. We're almost at record highs there, Fed chiefs. You good? So Karen might be onto something. I don't think they're going to raise rates next week. So what's going to happen to the market? If the Fed doesn't cut next week, we will head lower. And then the Fed's going to be on the hook again to, well, now there's a 90% Fed funds futures rates to raise in July. Folks, it is incredibly dangerous. Let's see how bad I do this. For the market to wag the dog of the Fed. This tail is wagging the Fed, folks. And the Fed doesn't like that, to be honest with you. They try and be apolitical. They try to tell equity markets that they don't watch this, but we all laughed years ago when Grandma Yellen said what? I think biotechs are overvalued. I about fell out of my chair when she said that. I'm like, when did you become a hedge fund manager, madam chairwoman? Are you kidding me that you just said biotechs are overvalued? This is so, folks, we might be setting up for a world of hurt here soon. I mean, we had a massive implosion right there. Donald Trump, get on the plane, boys, come home. Chinese, never screw them. And now we're at high school level. If Xi doesn't come to the G20 in Japan at the end of the month, I'm going to hit him with 300 billion. Hit him on tariffs, 300 billion more. Ooh. All right. Already covered Zuckerberg. Defense, massive, obviously, this week, the UTX Raytheon deal, which is not a deal, folks. Does everybody understand? And we had a huge coverage of this yesterday in the PLTV. If you're in that service, please go watch it. If you're not, you need to be in it. It's an hour and a half brief, and we did the Lord's work talking about Raytheon yesterday. Raytheon, look at since the announcement. It's broken below. Look at this. This is where we had on like bull put spreads and stuff like that because I'm like, it's range bound down here. Blows out the top, blows out the bottom. Actually, our bear call spreads are looking phenomenal. Huge, huge bear call spreads. But look at this. Whoa. Come on, Wiz. You buy on a merger announcement. You buy on the merger announcement and sell on the news. What's the news afterwards? I've been sitting here for a day and a half looking at probably 17 shareholder lawsuits. I've been looking at a bunch. Remember this, folks. When you announce something like this, what happens? Activist shareholder. What was what's the one guy's name? Shit. I've been reading all this stuff. Look at this. What's his name? Said Ackman. There it is. Bill Ackman opposing this. He's a massive owner. He's opposing this. That guy's got a lot of votes. So I'm not going to scroll through all this, but ladies and gentlemen, Debbie and I had a really good coaching session yesterday, and Deb, and she loves helping other people, accelerating other people's learning. I'm like, hopefully you're still good to go with Raytheon. She's like, Wiz, I ejected out of it yesterday. Or the day before. I'm like, why? She's like, well, was it a 79% loss or something like that? I'm like, listen to me going forward, folks. In the 10 years at TGO and all of our positions, I think this might be the first position that we've had that has announced a merger and an acquisition. I'm going to tell you right now, folks, here is usually what happens. In my 27 years of doing this, this is exactly what happens. It's more frequent now, meaning what? Buy on the rumor or the news report, sell the shit out of it on the news. I got a lot of buddies who sit on the beach, and they got black box trading systems that do what? As soon as they read that headline, man, that pounded that stock higher. And then what do people do? They wake up the next day, drink their coffee, and then pound that shit into the dirt. There has not been one bullish headline from the morning from Donald Trump sitting there on CNBC after he talked about everything. He talked about this merger and said, I don't know if it's going to reduce competition. I don't like it. Holy crap. The president's weighing in on the Raytheon UTX deal. Shareholder lawsuits. Bill Ackman, huge activist investor. I'm against this deal. Whoa. Look out below. So please watch the PLTB recording from yesterday. I'm not going to harp on this, but here's the deal. The AR, if you are in Raytheon, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Here's what Uncle Wiz is doing. I am getting out of all of my Jan 20 and 21 long call. I have an LCD and one synthetic stock. Doesn't matter what they are. They are gone. Everybody give me a vertical head net. Front month spreads, I'm still hanging in them, man. The bear call spreads are looking, we have actually very profitable looking trades now in Raytheon. It was dark. So I told Debbie, I'm like, next time that happens, remember folks, when a gap move like this happens to the upside, and you're already looking at, shit, that sucks. I didn't see that missile. Nobody knew. I didn't know this was coming. Folks, I didn't even see any unusual options activity, which you usually do before an announcement like this, where secretaries go to jail. I didn't see any of that. But it already happened, folks. Think about this in hindsight. The announcement of the merger happens. Boom, algo black boxes start, the HAL 2000 takes over, drives the stock higher. Then what happens? The next day, I'm suing everybody and this and that and blah, 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 and I'm against this, and the president, holy shit, pound that thing into the dirt. So then put this in your trade journal and your book of lessons learned. Any merger or acquisition announcement in my 27 years, this is usually the action. Spike down. What are they going to do on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week or tomorrow or Friday? Announce that they're merging? They already did. Exactly. They're not going to announce it again. The best thing that can happen is not anything. The worst thing that can happen is happening. Activist investors against it. The president against it. A lot of people against it. Oh, shit. Here's what's even worse. Raytheon is on the hook, meaning if UTX during this due diligence, no, there are no text alerts in AR. Only the other services. The service does not have text alerts. What's going to happen? Now UTX and Raytheon start doing what? Really unzipping their flies. Obviously, there's due diligence that goes on a lot of time before this. I've done due diligence for billion-dollar companies, trading firms, financial companies, uh, uh, bond trading firm. I've done due diligence for a lot of companies, folks. So you do your due diligence, and then after you agree to merge, what's in those agreements? Hey, if there's anything you ain't telling us or anything that we don't know or you don't know or it might be ugly and we got to back out of this deal, you're on the hook to pay us. So Raytheon is now on the hook. So if UTX goes digging around and they find a lot of dead roaches and UTX goes, hey, we're out, Raytheon will implode. So there's a lot of risk in this. So here's what I'm saying. Yeah, and whoever, I saw that a couple minutes ago, the disaster puts. Get out of the, you can hold on to the disaster puts. They're cheap. And if anything, this deal ain't done in the next 3 to 6 months. 6 months maybe. But I'll believe it when the ink's dry. Literally, when I see two CEOs, we've seen this before. Karen and I have seen it before in the airline industry. When you see two CEOs kind of at a press conference and shaking hands, and one guy saying, "All right, you're the new commanding officer, and I report to you, sir. All right, good luck. Yay, let's go make money." That's when you believe it. Okay, so front month spreads in Raytheon, I'm hanging. The Iron Condor, I've a bear call spread, and a bull put spread. So a spread and an Iron Condor across various portfolios are looking great, actually. Sometimes better to be lucky and good. This happened on Monday, and I covered most of it on Tuesday. But write this down in your lessons learned book, folks. When an announcement like of this magnitude happens and the stock pops, it's already happened. They're not going to re-announce it over the next 4 trading days. If anything, bad news is going to happen. Just scroll through your news feed on your brokerage platform about everything on Raytheon, and you will see how bad it is. So, really, really interesting stuff. Yep, Ackman, a law firm. LLP, notifies investors of an investigation regarding whether the merge. Guys, there's an entire legal profession dedicated to this type of stuff, suing companies around mergers to try and get their piece of the pie, or to protect their shareholders. The CEO of Raytheon, ladies and gentlemen, has what is called a fiduciary duty to whom? His shareholders, not UTX or anybody else. Not to his wife or kids. He's got if I'm a shareholder in Raytheon, that CEO, I own him. And if I feel that he's not doing what? Acting in my best interest, I'm picking up the phone and calling Weinstein and Weinstein Limited down here in Boca. So, well, and Graham, yeah. So here's let me finish this conversation. When I put a big question mark on any screen in any brief like that, and it's out into the future, I get out of it. I should be out of it. I don't guess. I don't gamble. I don't throw darts, folks. We make educated decisions. And my educated decision is this is dead money for the short term. You can get bearish on it. We could, if you get out of your Jan 20 and 21s and make it a foray, or keep trading the front months as a foray, I got no problem with that. Here's why it wouldn't be a foray, in my opinion. You know the name, and you know what's going on now. Like, hey, this is not looking good for the thing. So, okay, all right. So that it was kind of an afterthought yesterday, but I'm going to do one of two things with the capital from these positions. You ready for this? Number one, sit on it, man. Right now, hovering around the S&P 500 50-day moving average and the volatility index hovering is not a bullish indicator at all. So cash, my good ladies and gentlemen, is a great idea right now. I'm going to close my back month Raytheons and sit on them. Number two, is if we do get another pullback here, maybe back down to that 200-day moving average or whatever, I'm loading the boat up with Amazon. Anytime I'm making money or pulling money off the table, I'm going and putting it somewhere else. Number three, and it's really small down here underneath a line, will be eventually we're going to go into the new company, UTX, ticker symbol, UTC. So Step 1, step 2, and then eventually we're going to be down there at step 3. When the ink is dry, or when it looks pretty, maybe sort of kind of close to being dry. Does everybody understand that? Yeah, Graham, good point. Okay. Talked about that. We talked about this. Big tech companies, folks, are out at whatever it's called, Booger Eater Conference out in Scottsdale, Arizona. They are laughing at the at tech, folks. They're laughing at the government. They're laughing at you. They're laughing at me. Alexa's laughing right now. Siri's laughing. Everybody's laughing. The toaster's laughing at me now too. Folks, the big tech is evil. That's me talking as an American. This is me talking, as Gordon Gekko, government, you can kiss my ass. Big tech is going to laugh at you. I feel like Chuck Schumer when I'm Gordon Gekko in this. Chuck Schumer, what did he say a year ago or something? He's like, you do not screw with the intelligence agencies. They know how to destroy you 6 ways to Sunday. I'm like, what did that guy just say? The minority leader of the Senate warned nobody should be messing with our intelligence agencies because they'll destroy you. Are you insane? But that's where we are right now. Google doesn't like you. Boom. Folks, I got 1 day left in my Twitter jail. I lost my 4,000 member personal Twitter account because of a comment about Barack Hussein Obama. And then a week ago, I got busted because I got into a fight with a guy about climate change. I said, hey, dude, if you don't know how many genders there are or when life begins, spare me your opinion about the weather in 2 years. Apparently, me saying that, something about 2 genders went against Twitter's whatever policy against whatever it was. I don't even know. So big tech could care less. I predicted last week that Amazon will be the biggest survivor out of this, and we've been right. I saw a good show on Bloomberg where they completely disagreed with some of the clowns on Fast Money. Fast Money guys were like, oh, Google and Facebook are going to walk past the graveyard. Amazon's in more trouble. I'm like, are you too retarded? That's the exact opposite of what's going to happen. Facebook, as we just saw right now, Twitter, Google, all those folks are in a lot of trouble. We're coming into an election, folks. And when you have 2 sides of the aisle in Washington agree on an issue, you're in trouble. I have not seen one representative from Amazon sitting in front of a congressional committee getting ripped apart. Not one. Have any of you? I've seen Zuckerberg. I've seen the cuck from Twitter. I've seen the Google heavies. I haven't seen the Google CEO, but he went to meet with the president of the White House. Remember, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Joseph Dunford, testified under oath, even though he's a Marine, and he doesn't have to be under oath because they're honorable and they always tell the truth. He said Google is helping the Chinese military. This was a month or so after they ended a Pentagon contract and they got rid of their Do No Evil sign. Right? Amazon is doing great. FedEx clipped them last week on Friday. They said, hey, we're done delivering your crap. Oof. Well, that's rude. No, it's not. FedEx is smart. They're like raising this baby spider, and the spider's growing up and ate them. So Amazon's building a hub in Hebron, Kentucky, right near Memphis and Louisville. Amazon Air, I predicted 4 years ago, what? When they leased 5 airplanes, I said, folks, FedEx, the U.S. Postal Service, and UPS are in deep shit. And that chicken came home to roost. That was another career call. I told you back then, man, I'm a FedEx guy. I flew for FedEx. I get it. I've been through the sort at 3 a.m. at Memphis, and I've seen this. When Amazon rented 5 airplanes, and then a year and a half ago when Donald Trump started ripping them apart for sticking it to the post office, I'm like, and Jeff Bezos just picked up the phone and said, hey, how's our Amazon Air looking? Amazon Air had actually lost an aircraft, a 767 in Houston, dove straight into a lake on landing. Aircraft don't do that, folks. More to come on that. You don't want to know what I've heard so far in my pilots' websites about the Amazon Air crash. That's about it. Apple's in trouble, folks. It's the rare earth. The CEO of Foxconn the other day said we could actually be building these actually now at this point for the same prices we do in China. Why would Apple not stop killing little children in China? Isn't it funny how liberals just kind of forget all these convenient truths? Not once when Tim Cook is being interviewed on CNBC do they ask him a hard question why they don't want to lose access to him. What did Jeffrey Gundlach do about 4 months ago? He said, this is the last time you'll see me on CNBC. What did Jim Cramer do about 30 minutes later? He ran out on the TV, literally on his hands and knees, begging for forgiveness for criticizing Jeffrey Gundlach. Wasn't that funny? And they do the same thing with Facebook. They want to kiss Sheryl Sandberg and Mark Zuckerberg's ass, and they never ask the hard questions. So, all right, guys, my strategic mindset, you ready for this? Cautiously neutral. Very, very cautiously neutral, folks. Why? I'm telling you, man, and we're not going to beat a dead horse. Let me go out a couple days. There's a Fed meeting right there. This or that's going to happen. If the Fed cuts interest rates, the market will rally. It will be a stupid rally. It will not last, but it will be a rally. If the Fed does not cut rates, we will break through the 50-day moving average and head lower. We will do one of these, folks, right down to the 50. I guarantee you that's what's going to happen. Okay? So I am cautiously neutral, which means what? The cautiously neutral means we are a sneeze away from an implosion here, back lower. Let's get back to our, let's take a look at our altimeter here. VIX is up. 1, 2, 3, about 4 days in a row, the VIX has been up. Hold on, Wiz. For 4 days in a row, the market's essentially been up, except for the past couple days. Volatility is staying elevated as I have predicted since here. I predicted I remember back here, I said, folks, this is nuts. Wait until you see the whites of their eyes. Oh boy. Yep. And they're literally breathing on us, get long volatility. After this spike, I said, it'll come in a little bit, but we will stay high up here. I told you to replace the word volatility index with what? It's the uncertainty index. And I'll tell you what, another reason it's going to stay up definitely through the Fed meeting is nobody knows what the Fed's going to do next week. I have the former Death Star Goldman Sachs saying they ain't cutting it all this week. That's exactly right, Kevin. 80% of the time when the market goes up, the VIX goes down. Duh. But the 20% of the time that the VIX is up when the market is up, you need to sit the hell up and go, dude, what's going on? What's going on was what? This was a bullshit. This wasn't a rally, folks. It was a 3-day short squeeze followed by a shitty jobs report, which the market said, the economy's slowing and jobs suck, so you got to cut rates. We don't have to cut rates, man. So let me leave it at this, and we got to get tactical and trade. Here's I needed to get all of that out here, folks, so you have situational awareness. Because when I sit here throughout the day and I read articles, I talk to people, I watch the 4 different business channels, it's shocking I'll hear this from a random smart lady or dude, what we all just ranted about. Okay? But the Federal Reserve, ladies and gentlemen, cutting rates right now will be a short term. It'll be, hey man, here's your shot of Jolt Cola and cocaine. And then what's going to happen? The market's going to go, holy shit. We were thinking maybe a July cut. They cut them in June. And if they did a 50 basis cut, like whatever House said they might do next week, I think the market, you will get a 2 or 3 day pop and then a drop. So anyway, all right, let's get to some trades. Let's go to AR, Accelerated Retirement. We got to talk about Visa. So Visa, I'm blown out of the top of an iron condor. The bottom of the iron condor is looking good. So last week we looked at a new Visa bull put spread. It was 162.5, 160. Visa's been doing some good work in the background, but a bear call spread. that go. I put a bear call spread where? Right up here. 165, 167 and a half. It blew out the top of that, but I am going to tell you we have what? This week ain't over yet, man. It's only Wednesday. So we still have maybe time for this to come down in. I talked last week about maybe I'm not a roller anymore. Rolling retail is essentially what the pros call it. Retailers roll. Pros don't. They say, this is what I think is going to happen by expiration, and I leave the trade alone. Most often, unless there's some outstanding circumstances to change. The bull put spread is at max profit right now. This from last week is at $1,700. The 162 and a half, 160 is at $1,700. I'd close it today, and yeah, it's at 16. It's literally at like 1650 on the other platform. But this was the overall iron condor, right? It was kind of tight, but then look what happened here. Here's last Wednesday, yay, and then the boo here. So Visa's definitely going to give some of this back, folks. Okay, but here's where we have to be a hell of a lot more prudent. So the bear call spread, ladies and gentlemen, is obviously in deep trouble right now. You can get out of it right now, but I'm going to hang on to it. Okay. But here's the deal. So the Fed week or the Fed meeting is was it Tuesday, Wednesday, right? Obviously, it's always FOMC. There it is. FOMC statement is on Wednesday. Obviously, every time it's on a Wednesday too, right after AR. So here's why we might be sitting on our hands until next Wednesday in everything except weekly right now, the best trade is being bullish on volatility. We have a great weekly options trade that's up about $900 right now. It was up $1,200 a little while ago. Let's see what. I wish they had Wednesday expirations, man. But they don't. I mean, even if the Fed, listen to me here, because I was going to sit on my hands essentially until next Wednesday, folks. We're running out of airspeed. We were given back to the 50, and we're going to hang here unless something good or bad, really good or bad happens. Trump, Xi's coming to the G20, and we're going to sign a deal. That's not going to happen. I read a report yesterday from one of the former trade reps under Trump. He's like, there's no way in hell anything's getting signed at the G20. Even though Mnuchin said we get a deal by next Friday, we're just talking about what salad dressing we're going to have at Mar-a-Lago. That wasn't the case. Okay, so there's got to be high level meetings. That's not going to happen. What other threat to the upside? Well, Mexico. Well, the president already said I'm going to hold fire in Mexico. They're huge. They're doing great. They're letting 550 people from Ebola countries into Texas. You want to see Texas get secede from the union again and become a republic? It'll shut down. If I was the governor, I'd be like, I'm sending my National Guard, not yours, Mr. President. They're state-owned right now, and they're all going to the border. I will seal my border. We'll be our own country again. So there is. I don't see a ton of bullish stuff, but here's what I'm talking through right now with you. Everything else, out the next Friday. Here's the risk: the Fed Reserve cuts rates next Wednesday, 25 bips as expected. What if they cut 50? You know what would happen? The market would have a rip-your-face-off rally, and then it would be down 2 days later. Why? A 50 bips cut would mean what? The market drunks would go, yay! And then about a day later, by the next morning, they'd go, wait a minute. The Fed must be awfully scared about what's going on. And then we would go down. So, yeah, Graham, I don't see a trade deal on the horizon, man, at all. At all. I don't, I said to buy maybe some FXI calls out to September. We talked about that last week. And they had a nice run, and then we're back to its resting heart. This is the trade volatility index, FXI. Here's your resting heart rate down here at 40. So here's what I'm going to sit on my hands, because Wednesday, here's what's going to happen for the next week. I guarantee you this is what happens. We do nothing but chop around this 50-day moving average. Okay? This is a incredible, so, here, dead cat bounce, here, short squeeze, crappy jobs report, and then I told you the market last week, folks. I predicted this, that the market would wake up to the fact that Bizarro market is not good news. Okay? So, and we do get what? We do get China data tomorrow night. And China data tomorrow night being bad, where are we? Oh, I'm in the week ahead here. Let me go back to this week. If China data are bad tomorrow night, remember, data is a plural word. I hate when people say, hey, the data is bad. I'm like, the data are bad. That's how you can tell somebody if they know what they're talking about with investing. They're like, hey, the Chinese macroeconomic data are bad. You go, all right, I'll listen to you. If they say Chinese macroeconomic data is bad, they're an idiot. They don't know how to use words. So tomorrow night, if the data are bad, I don't sit here and go, hey, that's great. The president's winning the trade war. That's not, the market will have the exact opposite impact as to what you might think. If you think China data being bad tomorrow night is bullish, in that case, you're wrong, because the market will look at that like, oh crap, there's a global slowdown. Remember, folks, if we, China losing in this doesn't mean we walk away scot-free, like we've talked about. It's not like, I know the president's crowing about one or two companies that decide we're going to leave China and come back to America. Yay! They're not doing that, man. They're hopping on their sampans and going over to Vietnam. That's who's winning here, folks. I briefed you on that two and a half weeks ago. So let me flip a coin on the Fed next week. Let me finish this discussion. The Fed could flip a coin next week. You ready for this? So let's go. Heads, they raise rates. Tails, they're not raising rates. Heads, they cut rates. Tails, they sit on their hands. The coin landing on its side is what? Their language. Their language being that I'm not even going to fuddle through it, but we're extremely vigilant as to what's going on and stand by on the immediate alert 5 on the aircraft carrier to get airborne. Meaning we're cutting in July type of thing. That will be neutral to bullish for the market. So I'm going to tell you right now, Uncle Wiz, aside from a volatility trade and a handful of others, is going to sit on his hands, because I have no idea what the Fed's going to do. John Hilsenrath, ladies and gentlemen, writes for the Wall Street Journal. John Hilsenrath is usually used. It's funny because this guy's articles around Fed meetings are usually, it's like he was in the meeting before the results came out. Come on, folks. Reporters are reporters. They buy people drinks and steaks and strip club dances. I know how this works. Not that I did all of that, but I did all of that. So here's how it works. I've never in my 27 years of doing this seen Goldman Sachs say the Fed's going to act a certain way and the market be 70% the other way. Does everybody understand what's going on here? Kevin, they're not mutually exclusive, folks. We are in an event-driven market. We are in a Twitter headline market. Each day last week felt like a 1 year in this market, right? We've calmed down a little bit. Last week, folks, Monday was hit with the alphabet soup of investigations, followed by a jobs report on Friday, man, and everything in between, from the Thursday Mexico slaughter. So last week was an absolute workout. Short squeeze jobs report, FTC, DOJ going after big tech. We are out of airspeed, and we are going to hug this 50-day until next Wednesday at 1:59 p.m. Next Wednesday at 1:59 p.m., this will happen. So if you want to roll that symbol on its side, what's it look like? Somebody posted this at the beginning. I didn't ignore you. I was like, that person's read my Cliff Notes. Anybody know what that is a P&L diagram of? Or the exact opposite? If you think that the market's going to have an outsized move next week, what could you do? Actually, yes, but also in the other, if when you draw on a chart, when you see somebody do this like me, go, man, I don't know what's going to happen, but that is going to happen. That's definite. We're not going to sit at the 50-day moving average next week with the Fed announcement. It is going to have, there we go, folks. It's going to have a ginormous move next Wednesday. But here's the deal. The options market is not stupid. They're saying the same thing. The options market is saying, man, there's going to be a massive move next week. Which way? I don't know. That's either a straddle or a strangle. Let's take a look. Let's for shits and grins. Who asked me the other day? Debbie did. Deb, why don't you trade the S&P 500 anymore? Because it's a lot of gain. Let's look at the straddle for next 2880. Hurry. Next. June 19. Look at this, guys. June 19. We have an expiration. Look at this. Let's do that. Let's look at the strangle. I'm sorry, straddle. This, ladies and gentlemen, is $100 wide a week out. Look at that. 29. Wow. So, folks, if you think that the market is going to stay within those two strikes, you could do a straddle. If you think it's going to explode outside of those, you could do that. So look at this. With a strangle, you're saying it's the upside down TP, meaning if it stays in that range, you lose money. But you see all the green out here? If roll this sideways, roll that picture sideways, this is what it looks like. So here's the S&P 500. If it does that, you need a massive move in either direction. So that's what's awesome about trading options is you can potentially make money. Wiz, I have no idea which way the market's going to move next Wednesday in the Fed announcement, but it's going to move, baby. If they don't cut, the market might get pissed and have a tantrum. And it does what? Goes down. But if they do cut, it's going to go up. Ladies and gentlemen, that tactic is called that. But here, ladies and gentlemen, is why I rarely do these type of trades. Because what has to happen? It has to move outside of that range for it to make money. With my luck, the S&P 500 catches a $20 bid, up 20 points next Wednesday. Well, I needed it up to be up 31. Some bitch. I was right that it had a massive move. I wasn't right enough. Does that make sense? If you need a brush up on a straddle or a strangle, it's in your advanced workbook. That thing is worth reading between now and next Wednesday. Or, I mean, that section's maybe 15 to 20 minutes of reading. Look at that, folks, because we're going to talk about this next week. Okay? So, Scott, no, we're not going to do that. Absolutely not. Ladies and gentlemen, who I've stayed on, we'll stay, I'll probably go longer, but Scott, if you watch some of the old replays around Fed announcements, since they're Wednesdays when I have AR, what happens? I'll tell you what happens, Scott. The initial reaction, 90% of the time that I've done the math, is wrong, either up or down. And then as the afternoon goes on and the algos stop reading stuff and humans get involved, that direction is established. Has everybody seen that at TGO? Give me a vertical head nod. So I'm not a day trader. I don't sit here. I'm not going to trade that tick by tick. We're going to be more strategic. And Kevin's seen it. I've sat here and we've watched the initial reaction, and I've listened to the words. I'm like, that's wrong. The market shouldn't be doing that. And then what happens about 15, 20 minutes later? It does the exact opposite. Okay? So do not, guys, I got buddies that have been doing this since they were born, and they maybe scratch to maybe make a little money every once in a while. It is extremely difficult to trade a Fed announcement. I would strongly recommend nobody in this room do it. I don't. I used to, but that's when I would be sitting here in a big glass trading floor with about 300 other traders around me, all yelling and trying to get on the same page. So, yeah, no, in these moments, Scott, what I tell everybody to do is to get what? A bucket of popcorn, a big old Diet Coke with some ice, and sit there and watch. After the dust settles, absolutely. Next Thursday in the Analyze Your Trade and Debrief, because we need a what? I'm telling you, man, after next Wednesday's Fed announcement and we see that move, what do we need? You need a day to see what the market really thinks about that. Especially, could you imagine if it was a 50 basis point cut? I guarantee you the market participants eventually wake up to go, hey, oh, wait a minute. I have a headache. Where's my Advil? I need some water or Gatorade. And why did they cut that much? They must, crap. We're in a recession. Sell. Okay. So we're, especially in accelerated retirement, we ain't trading tick by tick like that. That's not what we do. We'd be more strategic and say, all right, let's think this through, guys. ARs, accelerated retirement, should be longer term trades. Sometimes in extraordinary circumstances, we will trade shorter term trades like the front month. That's what I was about to get at, folks. And I went on this little tangent, but I got to give you all this stuff to help you get there. But if you look at VXX, there's only a June, here we are. There's a June. That's weird. June 21 is 1, 2, 3. That's okay. There it is. So if anything, folks, what I was about to get to was this. Even if they cut rates, guys, I think vol's going to stay elevated. Does everybody understand that? I think even if they cut rates, that's why vol is going to stay elevated, is because of what? First of all, there's no China trade deal. And second, because most likely they're going to cut rates and in the press conference say what? Trade uncertainties around trade continue to drag and create uncertainty, blah, 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 blah. The trade I would put on, if you're itching to do something out the next Friday, would be a bull put spread on VXX. That's the only thing I would be doing. I mean, hell, you look at this, guys. You could go $1.27 underneath this thing, under where we are right now. A full $1, folks, would be a massive crush of volatility. I was looking at this one. I was looking at the, excuse me, I was looking at the 27, 26 and a half. But that's 19 cents, folks. Let's look at this trade. The 27, 26 and a half bull put spread out the next Friday at 150 contracts would be risking, look at that, risking 47 to make 29. Tim, great eyeballs, my friend. Tim already looked at it. Look at the open interest and the volume. There is a lot of folks betting next week, or at least getting some hedges on around this Fed announcement. Let's go more conservative. Let's go AR-ish. Here's the accelerated retirement trade. This will be risking about 5 to make, yeah, look at that. This is risking 54 to make 21. 75% probability of the dollar over $1 and whatever, 27 cents away. 75% of the time this bull put spread out to next Friday will make money. You bet. Yeah, I will. I'll take a screenshot of this. But listen to me good. If you are itching to trade, think about what's making you itch. If you look at this and say, you know what, that man, even though that was about 59 minutes of commit criteria, that's why I did this, folks. The only trade that I'd be looking at the next Friday would be an uncertainty trade. because even if they do cut rates, I think the market eventually goes, wait a minute, why is the Fed cutting rates? The Fed doesn't cut interest rates. Well, they shouldn't be cutting interest rates just to prop up equities. That's bullshit, and that makes me furious, but maybe they are. Or the market goes, man, they're cutting interest rates because of what? They're seeing these people do this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at the Fed, and they're seeing something bad. The more aggressive trade would be that one. I'm sorry, not this one. The more aggressive trade would be the 27.26.5 at 19 cents. But Graham, that's going to be my summary since we're 5 minutes over. This is a good looking trade, guys. 47 to make 28 or 47 to make 29. The end of this webinar was going to be, I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting on my hands. But I wanted to show you what, if you sat here and just said, hey, man, I agree with that big question mark to the right side of your screen. And just as importantly, I also agree that if they don't cut rates, the market's going down and volatility is definitely going up. If they do cut rates, the market's going to go up and volatility might actually stay where it is. I agree with you, and I'd have a drink with you because I think you're smart. But since this is a more conservative brief, a more conservative portfolio, Graham's right. So yeah, thanks, Kevin. That's how I feel after me getting ready to say, all right, we're done, is that brief was needed. You needed to listen to every word I said because that's what's going on trading desks, on buddies in London, New York, Chicago. So be very, very careful up where we are. In the past 2 weeks, you should have learned a ton about investing and trading, from short squeezes to bizarro market to we got a Fed announcement where Goldman Sachs says nothing happens and 70% of the market says it does. Who's got egg on their face next Wednesday? The Fed or Goldman Sachs? Does the Fed care about having egg on their face? Interesting. I will be, and John, I got to be talking to you, Brian, a bunch of other folks that I'm doing coaching with. I'll be texting, and maybe we'll be live tweeting or something like that. But do me a favor, if you're not in coaching or the lifetime programs, you're missing out, man. This is the type of stuff the coaching's geared for. There's the registration link in the box. Do me a favor, come after the close, and we're going to talk through all this stuff and learn about the coaching programs, because this is a very interesting. Look at that, 52 people already signed up, and that's just members. I'm not inviting people who aren't members here. So this is crazy. I mean, I'm having fun. This is great. This is awesome stuff. Kevin, I'm with you. I'm a St. Louis Blue guys. I can't stand Chara and Marshawn. I can't stand Boston sports teams. Brady needs an extra hand for his rings. But guys, listen to me. Graham nailed it. Cash is a position. No trade. One of my favorite 80s movies was War Games, right? Sometimes the only winning move is not to play. And that is a good answer. Sometimes the winning move in this case would be to sit on your hands and grab your popcorn and watch. All right, guys. Again, thanks, Robert. I saw that, Karen. Yeah, I got my tickets. I got 2 tickets for there, and hopefully in the VIP section. So I'll be in Orlando next Tuesday. I'll send out an email. I think we got to be up there early, so I don't know if we're going to be able to do the live trade brief. Because I am absolutely going to see the president announce his stuff. So, all right, guys, really, really good brief. If you missed anything, please, please, please watch this again. Rosemary, I covered that at the beginning, what we're doing with Visa. Please watch the replay because I have a coaching call here in a couple minutes. So, all right, guys, very good brief. I'll get the replay up here almost immediately, man. As soon as this gets rendered, I'm going to post this. The only trade that I would be thinking about, maybe kind of sort of doing, is volatility. And, I'm holding the weekly options trade that we have over here in the weekly options portfolio that's up about $900 since Monday afternoon. This thing, by Friday, this is going to be a max profit, man. I don't see anything bullish out to Friday, and the market's rolling over here. So good weekly options trade, risking 55 to potentially make 2. We have an 81% probability of making a full $2,000 here. So, and yeah, whoever just asked, it's down. We got into this at like 13. It's down here at 9. I wouldn't put this one on. I'd go up about. If you're looking for a weekly options trade, it's right there. But anyway. Yeah, it's the 27 and a half. No, it's not. The weekly options one's this. We got into it at 13. I got filled at 13. It's down here at 7. So it's already up 6 cents. But what I'm saying is if I'm looking for a new one to be bullish on volatility through Friday, I'd be looking at that. Remember, folks, tomorrow night we get China data. If that's soft, I mean, the IMF came out last week and said what? That China's getting obliterated by this trade war. Christine Lagarde, I love saying her name, Miss Lagarde, the head of the IMF, said China's getting destroyed. If their data come out really bad, we're not going to rally on that, folks. We will go down Thursday, or no, it's Friday. We will go down our Friday if Thursday night's data aren't good. So if you want to get bullish for a couple days on volatility, that would not be a dumb idea. Okay. All right, guys. I'll see many of you tomorrow at 1 o'clock for Analyze Your Trade and debrief. And then after the close tomorrow, like I said, I'm gonna brief folks on. I got maybe 3, max 5. It depends if it's Commodore's Club or Commanding Officers Club coaching, and I'll talk to you about the benefits of each. All right, guys. Have a good rest of your day. Happy hunting. Make sure you hedge. I'll get the replay up here in about 30 minutes. God bless, and I'll see you tomorrow.